This is a stunning plant in the Marantaceae, or prayer plant family. And I had always classified it as a Calathea, but I think that it recently underwent some different taxonomic rules and is now considered Goeppertia warszewiczii, which is a crazy scientific name, but I don't think the plant cares about its name, so I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this particular plant. I've had a number of Goeppertia over the years, and this is one that I have to actually keep up from the floor because I found out that my chicken really loves to eat my Calatheas and Marantaceae and Goeppertias and often gets really tattered leaves. These are a little bit more high maintenance plants to have to deal with. It's a native plant to Central and South America, so you can actually find it through like Costa Rica, Panama, Ecuador, a number of those countries. And from the coloration, you could tell that this is an understory plant, which I actually go more into leaf coloration in the Houseplant Masterclass, so I'm not going to get in depth with it here, but you could see it has these really beautiful kind of eggplant aubergine undersides and this really beautiful dark green to light green velvety surface. You can't feel this plant if you've never had one, but it is so nice to touch. And you can see that a lot of the new leaves are kind of unfurling right now, and you'll see that it has this like cigar-like shape, and I have some new ones actually growing down here. But what makes these plants a little bit more high maintenance is that they love humidity. They hate to be in kind of any kind of high or bright light, which is good for most of us in apartments and homes because we don't have a tremendous amount of bright light. But the challenge is if it gets any kind of bright light and a lack of humidity, it's going to start to crisp up like this leaf. Additionally, it's really sensitive to fertilizer or salts and water, so I have a tendency to water all of my Marantaceae or prayer plants with distilled water. That is a recurring theme that I constantly do because it's just a super sensitive plant. And even though in some cases the lack of humidity or the fertilizer buildup is not going to kill the plant, it's going to make it a little bit more unsightly. So with these plants, making sure that my chicken doesn't eat it, making sure that the humidity is high, making sure that the light doesn't get it, and also making sure that I don't have any kind of salt buildup in the water is going to be key to making these plants look extra gorgeous. Now, if that seems like too much work for you, then I would definitely steer clear of these plants because it definitely is a much more high maintenance one. Now, as far as soil goes, this plant likes to stay a little bit moist. I mean, it can dry out a little bit between waterings, but usually the soil has a little bit of a cool moisture throughout. So you'll notice that in this case, I don't have a tremendous amount of perlite, which I typically do have in my plants because I like a little bit more of a well-draining mixture. But this one's a little bit of a peatier mixture just so that the water could kind of hold on a little bit longer. And you'll notice that I actually have this plant in a glazed ceramic, which also allows me to hold on to the water a little bit more as opposed to having a porous terracotta pot. In regards to fertilizers for these particular plants, I had already mentioned that they do get a little temperamental if they get over-fertilized. So if you're going the synthetic fertilizer route, then I would definitely give it a more well-balanced fertilizer or something maybe a little bit heavier on the nitrogen, phosphorus, and a little less so on the potassium. And I would definitely cut it in half. So if it's a half teaspoon per gallon, then go with a quarter teaspoon per gallon. Or better yet, go with a light, gentler organic fertilizer so there's no like fertilizer buildup happening in the soil and being taken up by the leaves and turning them brown. But for the most part, keep this plant really high humidity, use distilled water to water it. Don't let it dry out too much between watering and give it a little bit more of like partial shade, lower light, medium light conditions, and this plant will be happy and really rewarding in its beauty.